I'm too small a fry to talk about CN sir, but what I can certainly share with you all is what in my numerous interactions with CN sir, what he has told me, what I remember, what he has told me, etc. Before we deal with these interactions, let me give 2-3 other examples of what I have heard of some other seniors, legendary seniors. Okay, I'll begin with one Mr. JP Gupta. I don't think any of you would have heard of him or read about him. He was a legendary classical criminal lawyer in Gwalior High Court. An absolute master, it seems, in criminal law. He's no more. His son was also a judge of the High Court, an old timer. And I was told those days in 60s, 70s, 80s, Gwalior was famous for dacoity because Morena district was very close. And the grapevine or the loose talk in the bar is top politicians of UP, etc., including former Chief Minister Mulayam Singh Yadav, were all his clients. Okay. Once it seems the judge told Mr. JP Gupta, Mr. Gupta, what you are arguing is the most foolish point I have ever heard. That's a very matured man. He didn't reply at all, it seems. In the lunchtime, the juniors went and told Mr. Gupta, sir, you are the senior most here. You are the leader of the bar. And judge has insulted you. You never replied back. Then JP Gupta, it seems, told the junior, wait and see after lunch. So the juniors all flocked to the court, thinking that JP Gupta will hit back at the judge, etc. Okay. JP Gupta went back to the very point which judge had criticized as the most foolish point. This time judge agreed. And the judge told him, Mr. Gupta, in the morning I told you, this is the most foolish point. Normally what we would have said, it's all right, sir. Sometimes the heat of the moment, you're also under a lot of pressure. You can make such observations. I didn't misunderstand it. But JP Gupta was a past master and a genius in courtcraft. It seems he told the court, sir, I didn't hear anything like that. I think you are making a mistake. You never said anything like that. With that one word, he has permanently won over the judge. I'm giving an example of different types of courtcrafts which I have heard from people. Not that I have been able to successfully implement it myself, but this is what they say about Mr. JP Gupta. Once I was talking to our Justice UL Bhatt, he immediately said, oh, classical criminal lawyer, old timer. Such criminal lawyers are not available anywhere in the country now. And that was his courtcraft. Absolutely calm and cool and never ever rub the court. That's one example. I'm giving these examples because when we discuss about whatever little courtcraft which I have heard about CN sir from CN sir, we can see the difference. We all in the Madras bar know the legendary GR sir. He's no more with us. He has reached the top of the profession. He was the Attorney General of the country, etc. Also genius, both in law and his courtcraft. Natarajan sir once told me, in around 1999, I'm told there was a change of the government in the Madras state. New government took over, and the new government put lot of cases under the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act against the ministers and senior government officers. So one matter Mr. GR was arguing because he has just come out to private practice again, and so he was arguing before the Madras High Court. The judge, it seems, says, Mr. GR, we are now hearing number of Hawala cases. Then Mr. GR told him, sir, these Hawala cases are like halwa for the lawyers. That his courtcraft. And he was brutally frank that it's so much lucrative practice for lawyers. I heard another story about GR sir in the Bombay High Court, and that is from a close friend Prakasha. We had Justice M.L. Pense, good judge, a strong judge. She is also no more with us. And in the Bombay High Court, there's a practice that chamber summons, the judge doesn't sit in the podium, he sits in the bench. And lawyers can also sit along with the court staff. And lawyers also can sit and argue. So one chamber summons, judge was sitting not in the podium, but in the bench, okay, along with the court staff. And he told Mr. GR, Mr. Ramaswamy can sit down and argue and see the court craft. My lords, I am told in this court, both your feet should be firmly rooted to the ground. So because GR was standing up and arguing, so in a chamber summon. That's the court craft. He has studied the court, he has learned about the court. And when he came to Justice Pence's court, that's the remark. The whole court laughed because otherwise Justice Pence was a very brilliant judge, but a tough judge. And I have seen personally some matter GR sir mentioned to the court, my lords, I want adjournment, I want to amend the SLP. Court said, yes, no problem. Then Justice Bharucha, who was slightly a junior judge in the Supreme Court bench, Mr. Ramaswamy, kindly come to page number so-and-so. Then immediately GR said, my lords, that's the first page I want to amend. Therefore, adjournment granted. So see their court craft and ability to handle a court in any situation. And this I have seen myself personally. This example of GR with Justice Bharucha. I was waiting for some case in the Supreme Court. The legendary Parasaran sir was also waiting for his case. I was sitting next to him because every time you sit next to him, you learn something. So he was waiting for his case, I was waiting for my case. And one well-taxed case of Nizam was being argued by a counsel before Justice Santosh Hegde. He was arguing very well. And myself and Parasaran sir were gossiping generally about this point, that point, etc. Generally, nothing connected with anything. As he was gossiping with me, Parasaran sir, when the counsel for Nizam, my lords, I'm covered by a 3-judge bench judgment, he said. Immediately Parasaran sir said, Sridharan, the counsel shouldn't have said this. Now wait and see, the court will refer to a larger bench. I was thinking I'm gossiping with him, he is gossiping with me, some case is being argued, and the lawyer is arguing beautifully. And he mentioned one point. My lords, I'm covered by a 3-judge bench. Immediately Parasaran sir told me, wait and see, it will refer to 5-judge, it will be referred to a larger bench. Within 5 minutes, the matter was referred to larger bench. In fact, a reported judgment, Commissioner of Wealth Tax versus Nizam Family Trust, and it's a constitution bench judgment. Ultimately, judgment was delivered by Justice S.B. Sinha, agreeing with the counsel's argument. But they have that court craft, presence of mind, alertness. Somebody else's case is being argued, okay, and they are able to watch and react exactly what the court will do. And happened. It's a reported case. I was stunned. There was another example which I have personally seen with Parasaran sir only. He was the Attorney General. A matter came before the Supreme Court, before Chief Justice and another judge. 2-judge bench it came. And it was the first matter on that day, final hearing. The Chief Justice asked Attorney General, Attorney, how long you are likely to take so that we can discharge rest of the board? Then Attorney General said, my lords, I will take 1 day. So we can discharge rest of the board. I said, I have no problem, my lord, but there's one small point. Yes, attorney, what's the small point? There's an order passed earlier that this matter should be heard by a 3-judge bench. Okay. Oh, if that is an order, then we cannot hear it. We'll refer to a 3-judge bench. Then later on, we understood, we guessed that a 3-judge bench would have been little more inclined to the revenue than the division bench. And that's courtcraft, perfectly legitimate courtcraft. He was ready to argue the matter. When the court asked him at an appropriate time, he didn't mention in the beginning, my lords, this is wrongly listed before you, etc. He kept ready, all the books were ready, other side was ready with Mr. Nariman for the assessee, battery of lawyers. And the court asked, at that appropriate moment, he said, my lords, There's an order earlier that should be heard by 3-judge bench. And then matter was heard by 3-judge bench, and 3-judge bench upheld the constitutional validity. It's a reported case also, JK Cotton. That's the court craft. Now, why I told you all this? I told you about the example of Mr. J.P. Gupta in Gwalior, or GR in the Supreme Court, or Parasaran sir in this Nizam case, unconnected with this case. I have heard these 2-3 instances from Natarajan sir himself. And let me tell you, all these instances, when he uttered to me, we were on a one-to-one basis. We were discussing some point or other. There was no tinge of ego or sarcasm or any such thing in his conversation. Some contest would have arisen and would have mentioned that point. So the 3-4 points I'm going to mention, or all the points which I'm going to mention, are all matters with nobody else is there, not even a hushed tone, in normal conversation, and without any ego, without any sarcasm. He himself mentioned 2-3 situations, and shows the simplicity of the man and the genius of the man. And court craft in a different sense. One example, I was told that he had given an opinion against the assessee, saying it is taxable. As usual, the assessee did not follow his advice and had gone ahead with the transaction. Then the enforcement department carried out a search, resumed some documents, and one of the documents resumed was Natarajan sir's opinion. Sir had filed a writ petition, was arguing the matter in the High Court. The government leader stood up and said, "My lords, I'm a little surprised. In our search proceedings, we have found out and we have obtained an opinion which he has given to the client, which is directly contrary to what he is arguing." Then court, it seemed, asked Natarajan sir, "Is it true, Mr. Natarajan, that..." Then sir very calmly said, "My lords, I have been repeatedly found wrong by this court. This is yet another occasion." How you diffuse the situation beautifully. He simply told the court, "No, no, my lords, it's wrong moment, etc." No, he says, "I have argued so many cases before you. Have you agreed with me in all the cases?" He didn't say that way. He put it politely. "My lords, I have been repeatedly found wrong in many cases by this court. This is one other occasion." And I don't remember the name of the case, etc. And that's how he handled the matter. And see the deftness which is handled it. And as I said, sir told me, when we are in some context, the conversation would have emerged. Not that he wanted to say of self-praising himself, etc. None of this ever happened with him. There was one other case. I asked him, "Sir, what happened to the Ford case?" There was an excise case. He had done some exports. He was eligible for refund, but he followed, instead of this procedure, some procedure, something like that, wrong procedure, etc. Money is due to him. So I am told the division bench, after hearing Mr. Natarajan, asked the revenue, "What is this? This seems to be revenue neutral. Isn't so, government leader?" So he asked the government counsel. The court asked the government counsel. Sir coolly got up and said, "My lords, after seeing the revenue has lost its neutrality." He said beautifully. And he succeeded also. This is the reported judgment. That one word, "My lords, after seeing the revenue has lost its neutrality." That's enough. So that court craft of telling the correct thing at the correct moment, this instance which Sir has told me. And whenever I go to Madras, I generally go to his office. And he also would meet me. We used to talk always about some legal point, legal case, whatever case in hand, what is the next matter, something like that. Never waste his time or my time. So, and I always gained and gained and gained. So he had some case on some electricity duty. I don't remember the matter fully. It was a fertilizer company, and some exemption is there in electricity duty for chemical factories, it seems. And suddenly the excise electricity duty department says you are not eligible for exemption because you are agriculture industry, something like that. I don't remember fully. Then we discussed, And some judgments I remember from IDR Act, I showed to him, sir said these are relevant, etc. Next day I telephoned him, sir, what happened, sir? The court has admitted it, he said. Then what about stay? The Sridharan court also asked me, what about stay? Why should I grant stay in a revenue matter? Then sir, it seems said, and he told me very calmly, without any ego, etc. My lords, for 15 years, I'm a chemical industry. For last 15 days, they feel I'm agriculture industry. Immediately court said stay. Nothing else. He one word and stay was granted. So that's the definite which he handled the court. GR sir had his own style, equally effective, but slightly different. Okay. And you see these three examples which I have heard from Natarajan sir himself. And these memories I never forget. Not only that, Natarajan sir had great court craft. Then this is an instance which Parasaran sir himself has told me personally. It seems there was a division bench in Madras High Court, headed by Justice P.S. Mishra, and reputed to be a strong judge and a tough judge, and a highly surcharged matter in Madras those days, it seems. It seems Central Board of Secondary Education passed some order saying all students who pass through Tamil Nadu State Board, their marks will be reduced by 5% for comparison. And the reasoning given was Tamil Nadu board gives very high marks, central board gives lower marks. So therefore, for admission to central government school or something like that. So that was challenged by the state government and these students belonging to this. That is a very topical topic at those days. And Parasaran sir was for the central government. And on the recommendation of Parasaran sir, Natarajan sir was engaged by Central Board of Secondary Education. One of the few matters government Natarajan sir has appeared for the government because Parasara sir recommended this, and he is the main respondent, and the whole attack of the court was against him. Then Parasara sir told me, Sridharan, what is the use of sailing when the court is with you? The real challenge when the court is against you. On the whole day, the way Natarajan sir handled P.S. Mishra, Justice Mishra, was remarkable. I could have done that with calmness and great skill, and a subject which is supposed to be not a familiar or expert. This school, education, etc., etc. And I don't know what ultimately happened, but Parasara said, I would have wilted down under the pressure created by the judge. And he handled it brilliantly, he said. Parasaran sir and Natarajan sir are great friends. They have tremendous respect and admiration for each other. And he himself, Parasaran sir, has told me, Sridharan, I'm supposed to be a very good lawyer, etc. But you want to ask me, person with real depth and deep knowledge, it is only Natarajan. He used to tell in Tamil, விஷயம் தெரிஞ்சவப்பா அவள்லாம் விஷயம் தெரிஞ்சவா நான்லாம் குண்டு போட்டுடுவேன் அவ விஷயம் தெரிஞ்சவா. These are the words he said with sincerity and out of tremendous admiration and respect. I will now deal with slightly different aspect. I mentioned about its court craft, his ability to very deftly handle a strong bench when it is against him. Okay. I want to touch upon some personal reflections. And sir practiced highest level of integrity and did it inherently for his own sake, not to be diplomatically correct or politically correct. And I'll give you 3-4 instances which sir has narrated to me. As I said, all of them not as separate browbeating point or self-praise point. There would have been some context in which conversation would have veered around that, and sir would have mentioned it casually, not as a main point. I don't want to name the case, etc. But it seems one important matter on Section 8(5) of the Central Sales Tax Act, power of the state government to grant exemption under Section 8(5) of the Central Sales Tax Act for interstate sale post 2002 for sale to unregistered dealer. Very important point was at that time. Sir argued it beautifully. A division bench heard him. And after about 15 days or 20 days, the division bench told Natarajan sir in the open court, he says, Natarajan sir, government counsel also here. My brother has prepared a draft of the judgment. He wants both of you to see it, to see whether all your points are covered. So the court told him in the court, in the presence of the government counsel, the division bench, the senior judge said, my brother prepared a judgment. He wants to both of you to see here in the draft judgment whether all points are covered. What we would have done to curry favor the judge, yes, yes, my lords, I will see, etc. Natarajan sir flatly told him, politely but firmly, my lords, no, I will not see. I have argued the matter. It is for you to decide whether it dealt with all the points, not dealt with the points is not my concern. And he said, no, I will not see it. And the government counsel said, yes, my lord, now that the senior is saying, whatever your lordships are saying, we will follow that. If we are agreed, remedies are available. So never a weak moment. When the occasion comes to display our independence to a court, to the division bench, at that moment, as again said, there is a context in which I had a similar issue before the Bombay High Court. I went to discuss that point with him. At that time, sir mentioned it. Not, he wouldn't have otherwise mentioned it also. There is another instance where, I mean, you see the integrity of the person and the conviction. Chief Justice Anand of the Madras High Court later on became a judge of the Supreme Court and later on became Chief Justice of the country also. One of the eminent judges. And he had tremendous respect for Natarajan sir. After he had been elevated to the Supreme Court, Justice Anand delivered a judgment in income tax matter on Sun Engineering's case. It's a famous judgment. Power of reassessment of the income tax department. When the department initiates reassessment, that the assessee can raise new points, something like that arose. Then Justice Anand took a view in favor of the revenue and against the assessee. After a week or so, I don't remember whether Justice Anand telephoned Natarajan sir or Justice Anand came to Madras. At that time, he called for Natarajan sir. I don't remember that. Then he asked Natarajan sir, have you read this judgment? And what do you say? I want your views. Sitting judges, High Court, Supreme Court, and known that he's going to become Chief Justice, and a good judge and a tough judge, brilliant judge. Natarajan sir flatly told him, Judge, it's the judgment is binding on us, but is incorrect. Then judge asked him why. He explained. Justice Anand said, oh, I'm sorry. That's what we miss. Mr. Natarajan, you must come to Delhi. You have done enough for the Madras High Court. It's now duty for you to the nation. Sir said nothing to him. I will not come to Delhi. So when a sitting judge of the Supreme Court asked for his opinion, we would have said, sir, beautifully written judgment, very correct judgment, etc., etc. He said, no. Once the assessment is reopened, it is reopened on all points. And the Madras High Court, Justice Balasubramanian judgment is correct. And to the great credit of Justice, and he didn't ask anybody else. He asked only Natarajan sir. And he said, and then the conversation is, judge said this, you must come. We missed this point. We didn't get this assistance. A third instance, I'm told Justice Venkatraman Reddy was a judge of the Honorable Justice Venkatraman Reddy was a judge of the Honorable High Court. Later on, he became judge of the Supreme Court and a very good tax judge. And written leading judgments. Then, when they were in the bar, they had close colleagues, Natarajan sir. They were doing a lot of tax matters, and they had a lot of respect for Natarajan sir. And some close friend of his, a rich businessman in Andhra Pradesh, on some branch transfer issue, everybody had given up, no answer was there. Then Natarajan sir found an answer, and ultimately matter came up. At that time, Justice Venkatraman Reddy was still a counsel, and perhaps a senior counsel. He says, this point, Mr. Natarajan, you alone can explain, you come and argue. He argued and succeeded. Then I was talking to Natarajan sir about this judge, about some judgment, etc. Casually he said, I said, have you appeared before him? Then he said, no, he's a very close friend. After he became a judge in the Andhra Pradesh High Court, sir has not appeared in any matter before Justice Venkatraman Reddy. Practically none. Same thing, then I asked him, what about Justice Dasaratha Ramareddy? Because he was also a leading sales tax counsel, a genius. Then he says, after Justice Dasaratha Ramareddy became a judge, then also I have also not appeared before him. The day they retired, the one renewed the contacts. What I would have done, a friend became a judge, then I will tell everybody, Arey, now my friend has become a judge, you brief me now. On the contrary, this gentleman who had a glorious practice, both in Madras High Court and Andhra High Court, stopped appearing practically before that court. That's what I was told. And that's the level of integrity. And one last point I want to mention, maybe slightly controversial, but I want to mention this. There was some income tax matter which sir was appearing for the assessee, and there is a standing counsel for the revenue. So Natarajan sir explained it to the court that the matter is covered by judgment of the Supreme Court in assessee's favor. My recollection, broad recollection, is Chief Justice Kaju asked the revenue, is it so? The revenue said, yes, it is covered. Okay. Ultimately, judgment was not delivered by Chief Justice Kaju at the bench because he got elevated to Supreme Court. Matter was relisted. Okay. And ultimately, some decision was taken also. But due to some political leaders, unfortunate, baseless, a controversy was raised. The standing counsel deliberately considered the case to favor the assessees. And standing counsel husband was a union cabinet minister. And as I said, the allegations raised by the political parties are absolutely baseless because it happens in a court asking the government counsel what's the view. Absolutely baseless. Then government counsel asked Natarajan sir, I'll prepare a 2-line statement explaining, I want to release a press statement exactly explaining what happened in the court, and I want you to sign it. Natarajan sir flatly said no. What you have prepared as a text is perfectly correct. This is exactly what happened in the court, and all the hue and cry being raised are absolute rubbish, but I will not issue a press statement. Imagine a union cabinet minister, okay, a press statement of this type. Ultimately, nothing happened. Everything died down. But certainly pleased him with the cabinet minister. But sir said nothing doing. I am an officer of the court. I argue in the court. Nothing outside will be discussed. We would have said, yes, this is the best time to carry some favors. So I'm giving these examples, which and sir has mentioned all this to me. As I said, some context would have arisen, not in public forum or not for the purpose of broadcasting. I have never mentioned these points to anybody. So that's the level of integrity sir practiced for himself and without publicizing it. There are so many people say, tremendous integrity, this, etc. He did it naturally and without any fanfare about it. He was leading me in one matter in Karnataka High Court on Tata Motors matter, sales tax matter. Okay. Normally, sir never used to carry mobile those days. Then Balu was trying to telephone him in the hotel and picked up the call. Sir, I was talking to Balu. Sir, the client engaged us for a matter in Madras CSTAT. Now files have been transferred from Madras CSTAT to Bangalore CSTAT. We are trying to talk to the client, is not responding. Client is not paying fee also. What to do? Natarajan told Balu, draw cash from the office, book the ticket on your own account, office account, go and attend the matter. I asked him, sir, the client engaged you for Madras, Bangalore. I may ask him later, but tomorrow the appeal is dismissed for default, etc. What will I do? The client Balu says he is not responding, he is not interested. He says, I have filed a wakalat. Okay. But the client bears or not, I will appear. So he told Balu to buy ticket of the office account and attend the matter. I was a personal witness. So integrity, not only for to be politically correct or diplomatically correct, but inherently a commitment to a matter for the client. He says no question. Having dealt with his tremendous courtcraft, highest level of integrity, and how is genuine, I can also tell you few points which I have never been able to follow. I never implemented also. He never used to meet clients at home. He never used to get phone calls in the home also. He never used to take files home also. He was a busy practitioner, huge amount of work he had, and he was alone. Prakash and Prasad joined his practice much later, much later. Despite all that, no files, never ever reading the files at home. No phone calls by clients about this, etc. Despite all this, I have not seen any appeal or reply being filed in the last minute, etc. by him. Everything would be filed well in time. He may do additionally later. Then he was once telling me, Sridharan, from 1975 or so, I don't remember the exact date, etc. 6:15 or so, I'll sit in my car. 6:15 a.m. He'll sit in the car, drive down to the office. At 6:30, he will start dictating for 2 hours, 6:30 to 8:30, all the petitions, etc., writs, etc., not preparing for the matters for that day. So 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning, every day, dictate petitions, appeals, etc., etc. Go home, have a bath, take a shave, and then go to the court and come back at 4 and leave office around 6:30, 6:45 for years together, day after day. And that's why he says, I'm always available in the office. Talk to me. There is no need for me to take the files home, etc. I have seen, in my estimate, he has drafted hundreds and hundreds of petitions. Even when he became a senior counsel and even at the age of 75, 80, all his opinions used to dictate himself. Relentless worker, relentless, had passion for the work. And kindly note, he was not only on highly intellectual constitutional points, etc. Books of accounts seized, sales not recorded on the books. Those cases also you will do with same amount of sincerity. And this, he used to tell me, to a client, he is not interested in a constitution, article 286, etc. You may, to delight yourself or to give relief, argue all that. So you must be ready with stock taking losses, transit losses, trucks being seized. Everything should be known. One other remarkable quality, which I certainly not, I would have loved to follow much more. He'll never talk ill of another lawyer or a judge. In our legal profession, to praise somebody, as Palkhivala writes in his preface, is a rare quality. About be admiring the success of others in the bar is a rare quality in our bar. I never say this lawyer is useless, this lawyer doesn't know, etc. Or he never told me any judge, High Court, Supreme Court, etc. So the judge is not good in his work or this thing, etc. Or not bona fide. Even in private conversations, forget about this thing. Never ever. In other words, the thought never entered his mind. He was stuck with his work, relentless pursuit of integrity, honesty, and skill. And therefore, other things never distracted him. I think it happened sometime in 2006 or 7. About 7, 8 of us, I've been requesting him, sir, please coach us in sales tax. Then he says, Sridharan, during court week and all not possible. Let summer vacation come. And he told me, so after the first 2 weeks, when he goes for a checkup and Coimbatore, etc., comes back. So 10 of us from 9:30 to 1:30, really for 10 days, he didn't do anything else. 9:30 to 1:30, he took topic at a time and explained to us. And even now it is recorded, is lying with us. First day he explained to us what is dealer, next business, sale, transfer, each part. Within period of 10 days, the knowledge level which he imparted to us on sales tax was so phenomenal. We feel so confident and assured thereafter. He never thought that why should we, and no expectation of any kind, purely out of love and sincerely between 9:30 to 1:30, not one phone call used to come. Entire time devoted to us. 8, 9 of us were there. And that sort of the willingness to tutor people and mentor people is unimaginable. I will tell you another incident which Sarah has told me. And that too, there was a context. It seems Madras High Court was having some celebration of 150 years or 100 years or 175. I don't know what it was. Okay. So one judge of the House of Lords had been invited and he had come to Madras. Chief Justice K.S. Swami was the Chief Justice heading the division bench, first court. So his office called up Natarajan sir and told Natarajan sir, you had argued a matter 1 week earlier. Chief Justice wants to relist the matter at 2:30 or 2 o'clock or so after lunch next Tuesday or something. Will you be free? Can you come and address? Sir said, no problem. It is real estate chief is asking. That day, it seems along with the Chief Justice, the visiting judge of the House of Lords sat in the court. Okay. And then sir argued that matter. Evidently, Chief Justice Swami wanted to impress the House of Lords with the talent and skill available in the bar. He didn't tell him anything else. And Natarajan sir was citing profoundly from Chitti and Halsbury's Laws of England, etc. And Lord Steen was simply dumbfounded. He says, I never told you, and this, okay. And then Chief Justice called him in the evening and says, Natarajan, you saved us, saved the High Court. Sir said, I didn't know that. Then tomorrow onwards, you must change the gown. Because Chief Justice insisted, Natarajan sir reluctantly applied for seniorship. And that's the protocol. He says, court has to ask, then only. Then he mentioned this. Ultimately, the court was with him initially, it seems. Final judgment was against him. Okay, that's okay. That's a minor thing. So that day evening, it seems Natarajan sir was coming to Bombay for attending some conference next day. And Natarajan sir was traveling economy class, and Lord Sleen was traveling in business class. Okay. So, and they were waiting to collect the baggage. So Natarajan sir was always very composed and reserved, etc. He never attempted to meet Lord Sleen either in the flight or in the airport when they were waiting to collect the baggage. Then Lord Sleen walked up to him and said, Mr. Natarajan, don't pretend that you don't recognize me. Sir, nothing like that. You argued so brilliantly, I couldn't even imagine that I am in India, not in House of Lords. And we wish such arguments are heard by us in the House of Lords. Okay. So Lord Sleen told him, it seems, don't pretend. I asked him, why, sir? Why judge is there? Why should we? That is his attitude. He never said, we would have, what would have done? We would have made sure we stand next to him, gossip, pickups, and conversation. Nothing of that kind. I was mentioning you the tremendous humor and wit in the court. Even in ordinary conversations, you can see it's full of wit and humor. Some controversial point, the client was unwilling to listen to what I and sir was saying. Okay. Then I was talking to Sridharan, just hold on. Let me sign the opinion, collect my fee before the client takes a fatal plunge in the matter, he said. He was joking that despite I was saying anyway. So, I mean, in the conversation itself, it comes so natural to him, the humor and wit. And I also remember some matter, some multinational corporation had taken some opinion from large accounting firm. And the accounting firm was given a one-page opinion. And client had implemented it also and met Natarajan sir for something. Then sir told him, what you're doing is incorrect. I'm sure you'll come back after 6 months. Okay. When you have land in trouble, you come back at that time. Sure enough, 4-5 months later, the problem surfaced. The tax officer was after the client. Client came back to Natarajan sir. And this time he was joking to me. Sridharan, opinion was 1 page and clarification was 6 pages. So he was in a light-hearted manner. He says, opinion was so shabby. It was 1 page opinion. All the points I mentioned, to clarify that, the accounting firm must give 6 page opinion. Very good, I said, he said. So I was just mentioning to this, that in a day-to-day conversation also, a number of instances I can give. Sir was once mentioning to me that it seems I think PSI school or something, that's where he studied. And 50 years of that batch, particular batch, passing out by that batch was celebrated. Okay. So all of them met, about 30-40 of them. Some of them retired chief secretaries, etc., on all top IAS officers, etc. In the conference, they said, Natarajan, you alone have to speak. We cannot speak. We are nowhere near you. Chief secretary, retired chief. Natarajan said, it seems told, those 2-3 years in the school, I never used to read, and you people used to read and came first. I came practically in the end. Lifelong I was consigned for reading and reading and reading. You people never have to read thereafter. How I wish I knew it earlier. That's what the lighter vein, and he joked, it seems. They all said, what is the use? You have been much more successful, not merely in terms of money, etc. Okay. As I said, that's the humor of the man, and it comes naturally to him. And let me also tell you, he was a genius, academician, brilliant constitutional lawyer, but also very, very practical. He was very clear. The client is not concerned with your academic brilliance or intelligence, etc. He wants his day-to-day problem to be solved. So, in fact, one of his friends Prakash told me, when Prakash and Prasad just joined the profession, they used to read Sirvai and Wade, administrative law, etc. All of us tried to in the initial stages. Then his Natarajan's friend told Prakash, aside all the books you keep aside, take up this Sales Tax Digest, 3-volume digest which sir has kept in his room, and in that, first read chapter on account books, search and seizure, statements, retraction. That will give you bread and butter. Thereafter, you may branch into this constitutional points, etc. So he was very practical also. In fact, when GST came in July 2017, I telephoned sir out of my selfish interest. Sir, I have looked up this GST section slightly. Okay. I like to spend 2 days with you, Prakash and Prasad. We'll read this together. Act from top to bottom, just to get a hang of it. So I went on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 of us, myself, sir, Prakash and Prasad. You also came. Sriram also came, it seems. Raghavan also came. Yeah, Raghavan also came. and diligently 10 to 1, whatever time was there. Okay. So as usual, I was trying to, stupid fellow I am, trying to show off the constitutionality in GST, etc. Sir heard me for 1 hour, 45 minutes, etc. He understood. He knew 280s and all inside out. Siran, what's up, chod do? First tell me input tax credit. What credit is available, what credit is not available. Client is more concerned with that. Within what time he has to take, what return has to file. So he was very practical. You first go through those sections with me. Credit, what available, not available, return filing, non-filing, revision of return, correction of return, refund, show all those procedural provisions. Also tell me what is the place of supply, etc. Then we will see 246A, etc. Very practical man. And he knew both sides of it. I was stuck in one matter in CSTAT. It was a part-heard matter. The client gave an affidavit to some department to say this is the amount of sodium silicate I have produced, and I need for produce sodium silicate this much steam, and therefore for producing this much steam I need this much coal. So he gave an affidavit for allocation of coal by some coal ministry about what the production of sodium silicate is. So the excise department got hold of the affidavit and said this is your production as per your own affidavit, okay, and therefore you have to pay excise duty on this. I was arguing before the tribunal. Tribunal said nothing to you, give an affidavit, you are stuck. So we know it's absolutely bogus. The client has given a false affidavit for some other purpose, not even raw material. Coal for boiler, for steam generation, for this. Then I telephoned, sir, Sridhar, and don't look at anything. Just look at this 25 STC, Indian crafts, Indian state craft. That was also a case where false declaration was made for some purpose. Next day at 2:30 in the part-heard matter, I cited this. The judge saying, very good judgment, fully covers you. How did you locate it? Huh? We have to allow the appeal. They allowed the appeal also. The bench is totally against me the previous day. Next day, I struggled. I just telephoned, sir. Next second, he said, don't look at anything else. 20 West is Indian state craft. So he knew the constitutional point, as also these books of accounts, search, seizure, etc. That's why I said he's a practical lawyer. Of course, he was a legal genius. And his way of putting things is phenomenal, unmatched. And I have seen it many times myself. Even in July 2017, when three of us went and spent 2-3 days with him, you know, section 5(1) of the IGST Act says on interstate you have to pay IGST. And the proviso to 5(1) of IGST says in respect of imported goods, you will pay at the time specified in the Customs Tariff Act. If you recollect, 5(1) of the IGST Act proviso says in respect of import of goods, you have to pay at the time specified in the Customs Tariff Act. When sir read that, Sridharan, you must put it this way. You must pay at the time specified in the Customs Tariff Act and at no other time. That one word makes world of difference. People used to ask, I have to pay at the time I remit, etc., etc. No, at the time when the bill of entry requires to be filed and you take it out of the customs, at that time alone you have to pay. So on all these high sea sales, no need to pay IGST. One sentence, at that time and at no other time. I mean, hundreds of occasions I have telephoned him. Within a second, he will give a perfect answer. I still have a live case involving about 200-300 crores. That fellow is dealing with precious metal catalyst. There is some entry tax issue demand raised in that. And the entry tax schedule is very immature schedule. It is not as detailed as excise tariff or customs tariff in sales tax schedule. It simply says precious metal. So my problem was whether precious metal catalyst or used catalyst or scrap will be covered by it. So my doubt was whether scrap of precious metals will be covered. Department shouldn't say it's an article, etc. Sridharan put it simply, this is a description by the substance. The entry is a description of the substance of the material, namely gold, silver, precious metal. It is not on form or shape. One word. I remember that. It's a nomenclature by substance, not by the shape, article, etc. So many. I can repeat hundreds of examples. I'll give another example. After all, we are lawyers. I am a lawyer. He was a genius of a lawyer. Our interaction will be all on legal points only. There is a judgment of my Lord Justice Jeevan Reddy Sarvottam Ispat under Section 8(5) of the Central Sales Tax Act. That section says state government can grant exemption. So Rajasthan government has granted an exemption from sales tax for some oil and said rate of tax will be 0.5% instead of normal 3%. So the seller wanted 0.5%, did not get C form from the purchaser. He argued that since the notification under 8(5), I am liable to pay 0.5% without production of C form. Justice Jeevan Reddy dismissed it and said, no question. You have to produce C form if you want this concession rate of 0.5% under 8(5) notification. So all of us were stuck. All of us are thinking, once there is an 8(5) notification, we need not produce C form. Supreme Court judgment dead against. A matter comes before the Madras High Court. That southern India, 24 VST 605. I'm telling you this point. He pointed out to the High Court, sir, the Rajasthan case of Sarvottam was the state government notification says, in respect of goods falling under 8(1), rate of tax reduced 0.5%. The notification issued by the state government under Section 8(5) of the Central Sales Tax Act said, in respect of goods falling under 8(1), rate of tax reduced 0.5%. So therefore, Natarajan sir said, the notification in Rajasthan state considered by Supreme Court itself applied for goods of 8(1), and goods can fall in 8(1) only if C form is produced. This notification of Madras state with which he was concerned in that case did not say goods falling under 8(1). It simply says in respect of tax payable under 8 is reduced 0.5%. So then he easily got over the Supreme Court and he succeeded in the High Court. So genius of a judgment, that is a point which remains buried deep in a judgment. He had the tremendous ability to unravel and unearth it. When he told me, then I said, what a fool I am. That's the genius of the man. In so many cases, I can tell you hundreds of instances. In fact, I have at least 4 or 5 other instances where a sheer genius of him can be seen in the judgments. In fact, there's a judgment of the Madras Petrochem. The assessee has sold the goods, interstate sale, okay, from Madras to buyer in Punjab, okay, and then sales return is taking place. The goods are not being returned to Madras. Sale is from Madras. Goods are not being returned from Madras, but the sales return is deductible. Natarajan sir argued beautifully. It's a reported judgment. He says the return can be made anywhere. Central sales tax, sale is from Madras, tax is paid to Madras, exemption will be available for return not to Madras state anywhere because an all India statute, and they argued it beautifully. So you can see the genius of the man. Or recently, on SR Steel, they failed on one point before the tribunal, succeeded on another point before the tribunal, and fully succeeded. The state had come in revision. State came in revision only on the point which is decided against it by the tribunal. So assessee wanted to argue the other point, which has been decided against it by the tribunal. He has not come in revision. A question arose. In appeal, respondent to a decree can sustain the decree even on a point decided against him. In revision, it cannot be done. That was a doubt. And see the judgment, 2012, 47 VST 209, the genius of a man. He took out an old Madras, which pointed out that same principle applied to revision also. So I can repeat hundreds of instances where sheer genius of the person. So if all of you, even though you are in GST, etc., all you have to do is just Google STC or VST and see Natarajan, Madras High Court, read only those judgments. And in those judgments, Read that portion of the judgment where his arguments are recorded. You need not read the rest of the judgments. You will get hundreds and hundreds of points which you will never get anywhere else. I have number of instances how we argued in 1978 that territorial waters for the purpose of sales tax is part of India, not part of a state. I mean, 1978, he must have been hardly 35, 40, sir, was. And he told me once, I was arguing beyond my age. The court certainly never took me seriously, gave me relief on penalty, etc., got deleted, but on merits, they decided against me. It's an incorrect judgment. That's what sir told me. So, all in all, there's not a day which passes which I don't think of him. I've interacted him for the first time in 1986. I continued to interact with him till the very end. And all times, we used to discuss some aspects of law, except on one occasion. That was in January of last year. On a Sunday, sir telephoned me on his mobile at around 5:30 or so. And they spoke to me for 1 hour on the mobile. And during that 1 hour, except for 5, 10, 15 minutes talking about law, just talking about other things. How his air conditioning is not working in the office, house, etc. Or how you feel sleepy when he goes to the office, etc. I was very surprised. Unusual of the person whom I know. 2, 3 days later, I rang up Prakash. Look, something looks not all right for me. He says, no, sir has argued the TVS case in Madurai High Court and succeeded. He's all right. I checked with Balu also. Okay. And on that Saturday before he passed away, Saturday, I think, Prakash called me in the morning. Immediately, I took the next flight, went to the hospital at 5:30. I was myself and Prakash were there between 5:30 to 8:30. Unfortunately, we were not able to go inside the ICU. Then he left for home. Prakash left for his house. I left to Delhi for, there was a function in my mother's Shraddh was there. I sent him a message. Prakash, I somehow feel sir will come back home tomorrow, day after, we'll be able to see him. And next day morning, Prakash sends me a message. Sridharan sir, that will not happen. So that was shocking. And I'm still able to get over that. Okay. These are my reminiscences. And 2 sentences I can therefore think of is maintain integrity, not for the purpose of showing off to others, and relentless pursuit of excellence and dedication to the job. That's what I think we all can learn from sir. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us your personal interactions of the legend of Madras Tax Bar, sir. As like for all of us, I think he has been a legend, sir. In fact, I would just like to state, sir, when I was in college first year, so my college was organizing a moot court. So we were looking for sponsors. So I went to sir's office. I was very young. I didn't know how the office worked. And I, of course, didn't meet sir that time. So I was just in his office figuring out how to go and meet. Sir himself walked. He's like, what do you want? I told him, sir, I want to meet Natarajan, sir. He's like, okay, come to my cabin. That time I realized that, okay, sir was only Natarajan, sir. And then he made me sit and he asked me, what's your name? I told him my name. He's like, oh, you're, he knew my grandfather. My grandfather was also a lawyer. He's like, oh, you're D. Trilokchan Chopra's grandson. He's a very good friend of mine. How much do you want? Sir, I said, I can tell that, sir. He's like, okay, I don't give generally more than 5,000, but for you, I will give 25,000. He wrote a check and he gave me, and he's like, all the best for your competition. So that was the first time I ever met a senior advocate, and that was Senior Rajan, sir. So thank you very much, sir, for bringing back those memories, sir. And I'm sure all our participants also must be having a lot of personal interactions with Natarajan, sir. If anyone would like to share any of those interactions, you can please raise your hands or send a message to me so that I can unmute you, and then you can, we will definitely would like to hear your personal interactions also with Natarajan sir. So I request the participants to kindly come forward and share your experiences also. Aparna ma'am wants to share something. I'll just unmute for a minute.
Sir, yes, I must say this, sir, Sridharan sir, I'm literally in tears. I don't know, I don't have any words to express the emotion that is welling up inside me. I have a great reverence to the Bhishma Pitamaha. That's what I prefer to call him. I have one small experience with him. What happened, this happened about 10 years back, or maybe even 15 years back. I had filed a writ petition for a particular client, and the initial writ petition, it was just a remand order. I got through that. And on that particular day, Mr. Natarajan was sitting next to me and he was inquiring about the case. I was explaining to him about the facts of the case. It was against a commissioner clarification, and it was remanded for a proper hearing. I mean, the only issue was personal hearing, therefore it was remanded. And then we went before the commissioner, the personal hearing was granted. Nevertheless, again, it went against the associate, the client. And the client came back to me saying that, yes, we'll have to file another writ petition against the commissioner clarification. And I started preparing the affidavit. In the meantime, I did not get any call from the client. And I was just waiting, and all of a sudden I got a call. And Mr. Natarajan was online. Mr. Natarajan said, Aparna, your client is sitting in front of me, this idiot. I'm not exaggerating, this was the word he used. He has come right from your office to me, thinking that I will take up that matter. I am sorry, I will not take it up. It is Aparna's case, I will not take it up. And you have done, he is in very safe hands. I am sending him back to you. You have to do the matter. See, that is the integrity. And that day, I was so surprised. He could have easily taken it. He need not have called me. But that kind of integrity, we must definitely imbibe, as Mr. Sridharan very, very rightly put it. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sir, I'll just, with your permission, I'll just unmute Raghavan, sir. He wants to tell something.
Prithvi, I'm not going to talk about instances because I have very, very less experience. There are many people who have worked under sir and who has been associated with sir. I just wanted to announce for this session that many people will be wanting to talk because CN sir is so precious to many of us, all of us. So therefore, there will be one instance or the other with everyone. Okay. So what I suggest is, instead of, because it will be only become more emotional, and sometimes it can so happen that we are slightly off the topic also, because each one of our experience with sir is going to be precious for us. So therefore, what I suggest is maybe we can close the session with Mr. K. Ravi. He just wanted to say a few sentences in the end. So maybe we can ask Mr. K. Ravi, you can unmute him. We can, he may say one or words, but I also request Ravi sir not to praise anyone in the session because it is all reminiscence of CN sir. So therefore, we can just close it with that only. I think all of us, many of us have written in the chat window also that it has brought tears to our eyes and all. So sometimes it is good to close with this kind of an emotion also, instead of diluting this. So we can ask Ravi sir to give his closing comments and we can close.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
I hope other seniors in the group agree with me.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Ravi sir, I've unmuted you. Good to have you back, sir. All hail and healthy again. Good to see you, sir. Yes, sir.
Sridharan sir, you will agree with me that CN was a self-effacing man who never sought publicity or showmanship for himself. He believed, in my view, and I'm sure you'll agree again, in ensuring that whoever came to his office, whether you came as a client or merely as another lawyer to learn something or ask I don't know whether it is right to say I will thank you for this session, because for you, I believe that he's been a kind of a guru. Not only to most of us, he's been a guru. And therefore, one does have to only pay obeisance to the guru. You would agree with me on this. Kindly unmute Sridharan sir to let's find out whether that's his view.
Yes, sir.
I certainly believe that Natarajan was one of those rare species, very rare species of a man who personified what would truly be a good human being and also a great lawyer.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
And therefore, I mean, number of instances I can also tell you. But one thing which I must say, which Mr. Sridharan concealed, for which you can always levy a penalty by asking him to talk on some other subject. In the last few months when Natarajan sir was unwell, I think almost every Saturday Mr. Sridharan was here. Almost every Saturday, if I'm right. Just to come and see his guru.
Naturally.
Considered his guru.
Absolutely.
The kind of respect Mr. Sridharan had for Mr. Natarajan, it was not merely respect, I think it was something more. And that probably I don't have an English word for
I was just telling my friend Prakasha that he was not expecting any briefs from me. I have not even instructed him more than 1 or 2 matters. So it is not that I will give him cases and therefore he was kind to me, etc. And as Prakasha said, he didn't need brief from anybody because he was already overflowed with briefs. So there are a number of seniors who are nice to juniors because of reasons they believe that briefs will come. But that was not his even remotest thought process. And he has been like this with me from 1986. When I just started, I was no voice. Okay. And it was right through. I met him first time in October 1986 or so. And our respect was always like that. Thank you very much.
I must tell you that number of occasions Mr. CN himself has told me, Sridharan vandu ponara, இப்படி ஒரு ப்ராப்போசிஷன் சொல்ற அதுக்கு உட்கார்ந்து கொஞ்சம் மண்டையை உடைச்சுக்கணும்டா. Because Sridharan was somebody.
No, nothing like that. So there's no comparison. Let us not even attempt to compare ourselves. No need also.
Not attempting to compare.
There can't be.
Always viewed you as somebody who gave him sufficient food for thought. And that's something, again, is an extraordinary quality in the man. To accept that somebody can give him that kind of a position.
Absolutely.
To treat somebody as an equal, never bothered for seniority and juniority. That was
absolutely not at all.
Amazing quality in the man. You could simply walk in and if you had a doubt, he would have the answer. I therefore, Sridharan sir, I'm not going to formally thank you because I think...
there is no question. There is no need, no question. Okay,
thank you. I will leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravi sir. Good to hear you back again, especially coming back on particularly for this webinar. So thank you very much, Sridharan sir, again for taking your time and sharing your memories with our legend, C. Natarajan sir. Thank you all the participants for joining us. I know everyone, like Raghavan sir said, everyone has a lot of personal experiences with Natarajan sir. But as he said, let us end it here itself so that we don't go on a very personal note right now. And we will continue with our webinar sessions as usual from tomorrow again. So tomorrow again at 5 o'clock, we will share our new links and the topic will also be shared. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday and good night. Thank you very much, Sridharan sir, again for joining with us today. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm ending the meeting.